Herzlich willkommen auf meinem Kanal. Mein Name ist 𝗏𝗏. Bei mir gibt es Tipps, Tricks, Guides, wie auch den Platin-Guide und den Platin-Workflow bei mir im Livestream. Doch, heute soll sich alles drehen um Checkt gern auch dieses Video aus, das war das letzte Video, was ich dazu gemacht habe, und damit ihr gar nichts mehr verpasst, würde ich mich mega über ein Abo freuen. Checkt gern auch dieses Video aus, das ist Video zu einem anderen Content auf meinem Kanal. Bis dahin sage ich wie immer, bleibt gesund und Semper Fi. Nach dem Intro geht's los. Let's do it!
I'm Hilary Heidi, a producer at Bioware. Let's take a look at game progression in Dragon Age: The Veilguard. In this video, we'll cover skill progression, item progression, and companion progression. My goal is to build a rogue assassin who darts around my enemies and strikes them down with poison blades. In order to craft this build, I'll need to invest in the right skills, find and upgrade gear, and ensure my companions complement my strategy. Let's start by looking at skill progression. As you complete missions, find codex entries, explore the world, and kill enemies, you'll level up your class. Each new level grants more health and unlocks skill points. The Constellation skill tree is where you spend points to unlock new skills. Each class has a unique skill tree and can specialize in a specific form of combat. Specializations unlock at level 20. Rogues can specialize as saboteurs, Veil Rangers, or duelists. I'm going to build toward the duelist specialization, which emphasizes agility and poisoning enemies with necrotic damage. There are 4 types of skills: traits, passives, abilities, and ultimates. Traits are activated by button combos. The Riposte trait launches a powerful counterattack after a successful parry or defend. Passives are skills that are always active. The Death's Blessing passive gives you plus 10% necrotic damage. Abilities are actions you trigger during combat. With the Toxic Dash ability, you dash toward your target to land a deadly blow, dealing necrotic damage. This also applies the Sundered status, but we'll talk more about statuses when we get to companions. And finally, ultimates are high-impact, large attacks that take longer to charge up, but create devastating amounts of damage. Within the duelist specialization, I have access to a unique ultimate ability called a Murder of Crows. I'll unlock this ability and then switch over to my character screen to equip my new ultimate. You can swap out your abilities and ultimates anytime you're not in combat. You can also enhance your abilities with enchantments, but we'll get to that in part 2. By leveling up, unlocking new skills, and choosing a specialization, you can start to design your ideal playstyle. But this is only the beginning. In part 2, we'll talk about item progression.
End it now.
Your character, Rook, can equip up to 9 items. Each class has their own main hand, offhand, and alternate weapon. For example, my rogue has a sword, a rapier, and a bow for ranged attacks. You also have a helmet, armor, a belt, an amulet, and 2 rings. You can acquire items in 2 ways. The first is by visiting vendors and faction stores. The higher you raise your reputation with each faction, the more items become available for purchase. The second way to acquire items is simply by finding them in the world. For example, while exploring the necropolis halls, I discover a new main hand weapon, the Enchanted Long Blade. Every item has stats and properties, as well as a rarity, ranging from uncommon to rare, to epic, to legendary. This uncommon item has high physical damage and stagger stats, along with a property that deals plus 20% final attack damage, making the final blow and attack chains more powerful. perfect for my melee-focused assassin build. But what if I want to make it even better? At the heart of item progression is the Caretaker's Workshop. The Caretaker is a mysterious entity that has set up shop in your home base, the Lighthouse.
I go where I am needed, Dweller. Now, I am here.
Here you can upgrade item stats and enchant your items. The workshop has its own rank, 0 to 10. You can increase this rank by finding caretaker mementos out in the world, or buying them at shops. The higher the rank, the better your upgrades. When you upgrade an item, you'll spend the required resources, and that item will get a stat increase. At the same time, its level will increase by 1 until it matches your current Caretaker's Workshop rank. A higher rank unlocks new enchantments. These can be applied to an item or ability, imbuing it with a unique property. For example, I can enchant my main hand weapon with plus 25% more stagger to quickly set up enemy takedowns. I'll also add an enchantment to one of my abilities, Toxic Dash, to increase its crit damage by 25%. Your companion's items can be upgraded and enchanted as well. More on that in part 3. But the workshop rank affects more than just the items you bring to the shop. Anytime you find or buy a new item in the world, its level will match the current rank. So if your current rank is 1, new items you find will be at level 1. But if your current rank is 5, new items will be at level 5. And if you find or purchase a duplicate of an item you already own, 2 things happen.
Prepare yourselves.
First, the level of your existing item will jump up to match the Caretaker's Workshop rank, increasing its stats. The item will also be empowered, unlocking a property and increasing its rarity. Buying a duplicate of my offhand weapon, the Duelist Blade, bumps up the blade's stats, unlocks a property that applies necrosis to enemies I hit with riposte, and changes its rarity from uncommon to rare. So it's a good idea to keep leveling up your Caretaker's Workshop, because the higher its rank, the better your items will be, whether you're upgrading them at the workshop or finding them out in the world. Another item type you can find or buy are runes. Each rune provides a passive bonus to your build, as well as an active bonus you can trigger. Up to 3 runes can be slotted into Rook's Lyrium Dagger. I'll slot in this Scorch rune, which allows my otherwise necrotic-focused build to deal out fire damage. But skills, items, and upgrades aren't the only elements of creating your build, because in the Veilguard, you're not fighting alone.
Nice hit!
In part 3, we'll talk about companion progression. Each companion has their own skill tree and unique items. They can be equipped with a main hand weapon, an offhand weapon or keepsake, armor, and a trinket. Some gear, such as this 𝗃𝗏𝗆 cloak on Lucanus, can enhance my character's build. In this case, applying bleeding or necrotic damage whenever I detonate an overwhelmed target. And at the Caretaker's Workshop, I can upgrade and enchant companion items just like Rook's gear. Let's upgrade Lucanus' 𝗃𝗏𝗆 cloak to level 5, greatly increasing its bonus ability damage, and enchant it with +1 maximum stack of necrosis. Companions also have their own skill trees, so as they level up, you can spend points to unlock skills that complement your own. Some abilities can serve as primers, applying status effects to enemies such as sundered, overwhelmed, or weakened. Other abilities are detonators, combining with primers to create powerful detonations on status-afflicted targets. You can swap out companion abilities anytime you're not in combat, just like Rook. In some cases, you'll want to spec companions with abilities that can fill in for weak spots in your build. For example, if I know I'm going to face a horde of Darkspawn, which are resistant to my Rook's necrotic damage but weak against fire, I'll want to bring along a companion like 𝗏𝗲𝗏, who has powerful fire abilities. I'll also bring Nev, who can detonate targets that I've primed. First, I'll use 𝗏𝗛𝘆 𝗖𝗺's strike ability to inflict fire damage and knock down his darkspawn. Next, I'll rush in with Toxic Dash to prime a target with the Sundered status. And finally, I'll use Nev's Icebreaker ability on the Sundered enemy to detonate it. In other situations, such as this battle against the undead, I want to max out my necrotic damage potential. I can accomplish that by bringing along 𝗏𝗏𝘆, a fellow rogue whose gear and abilities increase the amount of necrotic damage I can deal out. Our progression systems allow you to finely tune your skills, gear, and companions to create the perfect build.
Got us in the distance!
Hat dir mein Video zu Dragon Age Veilguard gefallen? Dann lass mir gerne ein Däumchen oben da. Checke auch gerne diese Liste aus, das ist meine Playliste mit allen Tipps, Tricks, Guides und auch den Platin Guides. Und natürlich, wenn du noch mehr sehen willst, dann findest du hier meine Playliste zu meinen interaktiven Livestreams. Natürlich interessiert mich, was hältst du von dem neuen Spiel? Und ein Abo wäre richtig, richtig gut. Wir sehen uns im nächsten Video und bleib gesund.